When we first met Eric and Ashley, it was in Boston. We were on a tour with Brothers McClurg, and they opened for us one night, and I was just struck by their singing and the way that they structured their songs and their lyrical content and how they developed ideas. And so we invited Eric and Ashley, they're called The Promise is Hope, up to Old Bear to be part of Harmonized Sounds. And this song is called Mary Ann.
We were tired of the phone calls, we were tired of the news. There was something so different about losing you.
It was cool to, I guess, dialogue back and forth with Eric before they got here about arrangement ideas, and we spent a good amount of the day just kind of wrestling out the arrangement of the song. Part of the chorus, you know what I mean? I mean, it's because the way you sing the pre-chorus does sound more like the beginning of a chorus than the actual chorus does.
To me,
it's got more of a starting
the
chorus.
I think because it's on a minor chord, though, to
some
me there's
rise
still
to
kind
it.
of a...
But that rise feels like it's building to something to me, and then it opens up the door for the chorus.
The only thing that didn't quite make sense there is figuring out how we want to instrumentally bring it back to the chorus.
Right.
Because when you start singing the chorus, it doesn't feel like it's going to make sense.
Yeah.
You know.
So originally when I wrote the song, it was long and seemed lilting. So we all sat around for a few hours just deciding where to put the chorus, where to put the verses. But like I said, having that, you know, the fact that everybody's deliberating and wrestling about the song together, but you could tell that everybody had the same vision, ultimately, big pictures, like, yeah, how do we get the song to really portray what we want it to portray? I think made you feel at peace with the wrestling. Like, we're in a safe place and we're all gonna try to get this where we want to see it go, and that feels good. Sometimes you work in a studio with someone and they're just totally trying to take something in a really different direction than you ever envisioned it, but I think today all the work that we did wrestling, everybody really had the same goal in mind.
My grandmother was a really unique person, and the way that she expressed her sense of calling and connection to God, she had a really strong heart to follow God the way that she knew how, and to her that meant becoming a nun, and so she resisted my grandfather's wooing for I think like 4 or 5 years. But he's a persistent and handsome man. He won her over, and her consolation, you know, was that no man would come between her and God. And so they would have as many kids as you know, God would want them to have. That was her perspective. She had 15 kids, and you know, together the two of them raised, you know, a really amazing group of people. And so as the song, I think the initial idea for the song, tying into her faith, was the Hail Mary. In that prayer, her devotion, or her sense of a devotion to the mother of Jesus, was the initial inspiration, because she was named after Mary, you know, and then the prayer sort of has this allusion to Jesus, the fruit of your womb.
About a year ago, Eric's grandmother passed away pretty peacefully, and she had pretty much any human being's idea of the best last day on earth. She had 15 kids and I think 49 grandchildren. And so she, on the last day of her life, she was in the hospital and a ton of people showed up. So this song was specifically written about a moment that we came into the hospital room and there were probably 15 cousins and maybe a few of the siblings were standing around her hospital bed. And Eric came in close to her to say, "I'm here," because we had just gotten there. And then she specifically asked for me. She was wondering where I was, which was really special because Eric and I had only been married for a couple of months.
Hospital room, it's full of aunts, uncles, cousins. You know, in my memory, it's like 30, 40 people. And she's in the bed. Everyone knows, you know, that these are her last hours, and our family is just singing, you know, hymns and spiritual songs in the room. It's a real peaceful presence. And it was, you know, it was super special to kind of come bedside. She sees me and she smiles, she's glad I'm there, and then right away she's like, "Oh, where's Ashley?" I'm like, "Oh, she's right here," and I turn around and she sees Ash, her face lights up.
The most remarkable thing about her was every single individual person in her entire family, which is hundreds of people if you consider that everyone's married and everyone has kids, and you know, she also had siblings and they had husbands and wives and kids and everything, so there's hundreds of people. She remembered every single person and so many details about their lives. She was given her last rites. She prayed in French, and she just had this really remarkable final day on earth, surrounded by this village that she created, this huge, huge pile of lovely, amazing people, and also really musical people. So everyone sang around her a lot that day, and it was really beautiful. And so I was just reflecting on that day a lot, and this song just was born fairly naturally out of it.
So it was just like these last moments of being with her in that space were like super special.
We were tired of the phone calls. We were tired of the news. There was something so different about losing you. When the phone started ringing in the early part of dawn, we knew before we answered that you were gone.
For the vocals, we used an SM7 on his mic or on his voice, and then for her vocal, we used an RE20, which are both inexpensive microphones.
Teary eyes again.
I really liked the tone of Ashley's voice, especially paired with that microphone. I got most of my stuff is Sonics because I'm an engineer, so I really appreciated how well her voice suited that style of music and how it fit into the mix.
Is Marianne.
And we did use a lot of instruments on this that we hadn't used before, and we try to do that with every record, is to try to find instruments that will just be utilized for that specific project. So the rollout piano and the snare drum, we got some really cool sounds out of that, just turning the snares off and just hitting it with our palms. Just kind of let ourselves be free with this song and tried to create sounds that felt kind of far away and distant and didn't take away from the intimacy of the track. And so in that sense, it was a lot of fun to kind of explore the space and see what we could come up with. We used the theater organ back there to get, it makes these weird percussion sounds. I don't know if back in the 50s they would play percussion sounds along with the organ, but it's kind of one of those, it's one of those things that doesn't, technology doesn't make a lot of sense why they did it that way. And I think in a lot of the instruments that we use, and a lot of the organs and a lot of the sounds that we come up with, I'm drawn to kind of old technology. And I guess instruments that don't really serve a purpose anymore, or like you kind of think to yourself, why did they make an organ with percussion sounds when they don't even sound close to real percussion sounds? But you can find a place for those things in a mix and find a home for them. And I think with doing a record like what we did with Eric and Ashley, and the record we're going to do with them, I think it's finding those unexpected things that different instruments do and different surprises that they can give you and things that you can utilize them for on a track. In the verse 2 of the song, we did use the classical guitar to get some plucky sounds, almost like when you hear an orchestra and you hear the timpanis and the different things coming in, making those tones.
As good as you can.
The one interesting thing about this project is that, or this song, is that we used a lot of SM57s. And so we recorded the piano that way. The piano sounds was basically just one 57. The Rhodes sound that you hear, we used a 57 on. The acoustic guitars, we used a 57 on. And I mean, these mics cost about $100. And so, I don't know, I don't think we started off the day going, oh, I want, you know, let's just use the $100 microphone that we have. But it kind of wound up to be the best thing for the song. Throughout the day, we just kind of found ourselves grabbing that microphone and putting it up there. That sounds great.
I picked the SM57 mic because it was the closest thing to me, and so I figured I would start with that. I'm a big proponent of trying different microphones. There's not really a rule to get a specific sound. With me, if it works, it works. If it sounds good, don't rock the boat. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to be looking to the credits to figure out what you recorded with. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
I don't know what the moral of the story is, but I guess if you have creative people and a good engineer like Paul, you can sort of get away with using an inexpensive microphone.
Yeah, go for it.
The moment we walked through the door here at Old Bear, it felt instantly comfortable. You know, the space and the way it was laid out and everything, it felt inspiring, it felt energizing, and so right away, it was like, all right, ready to lock and load, let's do this. And the guys here, Chris, Anthony, Jeremy, have just, you know, they were awesome to work with. Really encouraging, patient, and great feedback, really helpful direction in crafting the song.
And tried to find a way to add to the song, because the song has is a pretty long track, so trying to find a way to introduce things to keep the song interesting. So it's not just acoustics the whole time, but also not wanting to take away from the intimacy of the song. So in a lot of ways, I feel like with The Promise is Hope, Eric and I are kind of, long lost producer buddies, and we would both get excited about the stupidest stuff. When we first came up with the sound on the organ, it makes this percussion sound, and we recorded it, and we walked in the studio, and I think Ashley looked at us like, okay, here we go. Not sure where this is gonna go, but we'll just go along for the ride. And hopefully we've made the track better and more interesting in the soundscape aspect of it and the things that we've added to it. And so we hope you love it, and we'll appreciate it for years to come.
The end. Okay.
We were tired of the phone calls. We were tired of the news. There was something so different about losing you. When the phone started ringing in the early part of dawn, we knew before we answered that you were gone. And the angels were singing as we close